Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Christine Dixon of The Ordinary Sacred. I'm going to put my glasses up so they don't glare. As you can see, I'm in a lovely hotel room in Austin, Texas, where we're visiting our two sons. And by the time this video comes out, it'll be probably 2 or 3 weeks from now. But you'll see some videos here in Austin. And today, what I want to do is a little review of this wonderful book, The Internal Family Systems Workbook by Richard Schwartz himself. Some people were asking me to do a little review to just see if this is worth getting or not. And I'm not going to do a giveaway with this book, unfortunately, because what I normally do is I'll read an IFS book and then I will do a drawing and give it away, give my copy away. And I can't give my copy of this away because, let's see, as you'll see, there is writing all throughout. There's, let's see, this meditation, I think, with inner critics where I gained so much insight. I just started writing all over the page. And so, yeah, you'll have to get your own and fill it in for yourself. I love interactive books. Some people, this is very controversial, but I love to write in my books, no matter what kind of book it is. So I love when there's margins. I'm underlining, circling, saying wow, writing thoughts, arguing with points. I'd love to interact with my books. So this is a book that is meant to be interacted with because it's a workbook. So I love that about this book. It's put out by Sounds True. I don't know if you can read that. And I'll just give it away. I highly recommend it. I did love this book. And I'll just tell you some of the different parts of it, just an overview. Part one is getting to know yourself and your parts. And it's very, like I said, interactive. There's little quizzes, there's little exercises. Each chapter is very, very short, and each chapter is essentially a little description, instruction, and then an actual exercise for you to do. And it's so short that you can, sit down for a couple minutes and do one chapter, or you can sit for a little bit longer and do 2 or 3 chapters. But it's meant to be at your own pace, which I also love. You might hear me say all the time, you are your own authority. And so anything that lends itself to you being self-led and following your system is wonderful. And Richard Schwartz says that in the book repeatedly. He says, if he has you basically check for your own self energy, and if it's not there, he says, seek out help from someone else or come back later and see if your system is ready and able to just allow a little bit of self energy to be curious. You don't have to do the work. It's actually not recommended to do the work if you're not feeling just a little bit curious, and that's okay, right? It just means that you're very blended with other parts and they need to be heard, and sometimes they're heard by someone outside of you first, or there's a time when you have a little bit of access to calm or curiosity and you can give them attention. So there's no shame in any of it. But the first section is getting to know yourself in parts. And then this next section, section 2, is appreciating your overworked managers. Part 3 is befriending your activated firefighters. Part 4 is embracing your burdened exiles. And of course, Richard Schwartz gives his regular disclaimer that you ought not go to exiles without kind of professional help. I'm actually, a little side note, I'm making a video after this that we'll post in a few weeks, um, addressing that question. Do you or must you be IFSI level 1 trained in order to unburden exiles? I have a controversial view on that. In a nutshell, I would say no. But I know that and I'm going to go into detail about my thoughts about why Richard Schwartz and IFSI take a really strong stance on that, and kind of why I disagree with it. So stay tuned for that. But he does give that. But I'm happy to say that he still guides you through several exercises in helping you witness and even reparent some of your exiles. So just really powerful work. Um, and then part 5 is accessing your unlimited self-leadership. And I love that he has this section. It's really about yourself is always there. You don't have to develop it, but it's learning how to access it, right? How to support yourself in going into nature, finding safety, um, you know, experimenting with self-compassion and self-love and some of those things, creative outlets that help you connect to the natural self energy that you have. Because once you have a little bit, there is this virtuous cycle of that self giving attention to your other parts. So there's several different exercises in each of those parts. And one thing I really love too is he does several meditations throughout each section. And for each one, there's a QR code. I'm trying to find it. So you'll see this one is the path. And so each one has a QR code and they're all together, but Dick Schwartz himself leads you through the meditations, and you can do that. Or I have a system, and I've met lots of people who are like me in this way, where I don't like another person. Sometimes it's okay, but I often don't, many of my parts don't like another person to lead me through a meditation. So actually just reading it in the book is the most supportive uh, method for me, because I can take it at my own pace. I can take one section and just really listen to my parts as much as possible. Of course, when there's a recording, you can always pause it and take as much time as you need in that way as well. But my parts really like, it's because I hear my parts saying they trust myself more than any other person's self. And so they like it to be kind of in my voice, I guess. But again, other people, there's no right or wrong here. Other people really appreciate another person outside of them, their self, leading them through the meditations. Yeah, there's so much. I'm looking through the book right now. There's so many just really great guides to, help you discover your parts and why they do what they do, where they are in your body, right? Um, like I said, I did that meditation on inner critics because if you followed my work, I have had many, many inner critics. And so I have them here, some of them here, and I put next to them whether they're a manager or firefighter, because I have several inner critics who are also firefighters, which means once the pain of exiles come up, they essentially try to get them to go down by being murderous, right? By just being really harsh and terrible to my exiles. And so those are firefighters. But I learned some new things about my exiles in doing this. And I've been working with my exiles for a long time. It's always just so fun to gain new insight. So that's what this book does, in my opinion. It's like it holds space for you to um, just explore, kind of like another person would, um, in a group. And so my recommendation, and again, do whatever feels right to your system, is you can set aside just a little bit of time each day and say, I'm just going to do one exercise. And then feel in your body if your system wants to do more or if it doesn't, right? But any parts that resist, you can just say, at this time each day, I'm just going to do this one exercise. And or once or twice a week, whatever your system agrees to. I always say do the smallest amount that your system is willing to do. Always start there, even if it's for 10 seconds, even if it's I'm just going to read a paragraph or something like that. Now, I did skim through some of the description because I'm very familiar with IFS. Um, and so, depending on your familiarity with IFS, if you are new to IFS, this is a fantastic book. If you have been doing IFS for a long time, you might skim through some of the descriptions, but the exercises are still going to be very valuable, in my opinion. So that's my review of the Internal Family Systems Workbook. I was so excited to see that Dick did this because my my view is that my kind of assessment is that Dick has polarized parts around wanting parts that really want IFS to be accessible and known in the public and used on a daily basis. And then he also has parts that are really fearful around, I think, backlash of protectors and people going to exiles too quickly and not honoring the protectors, not wanting to go there, and then there being just damage that's done there. And so there are these parts that kind of pull back and say, no, 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 it can only be done by an IFSI level 1 or 2 or 3 trained therapist and who's already been trained as a therapist. That's the only ones who can lead IFS. But then he has these other parts that are like, no, I want it to go out in the world and people to be able to do it on their own and their self is the healer. And so I feel like this book was put out by these set of parts. And again, if you follow my work, you know I'm just a huge proponent of people learning how to fish rather than being given a fish. And the thing that I love so much about IFS is that at its core, it's about the fact that every one of us has a capital S self that is the healing agent in our system. And while many people who've had severe trauma and who are so used to their protectors leading the way uh, gain so much value from having another person's self be able to basically reconnect their self and their parts and facilitate that self to part relationship inside. But once they have that, then the healing work goes forward uh, inside of them. And there's so much self-agency and self-leadership that occurs in the healing process rather than always just being dependent on other people. So it's not that we don't need other people, we always need other people, but our self is the most highly equipped. It's available to us 24/7. It knows all of our history, has access to all of our parts, as well as access to the all cap self, the love all around us. And so, um, as much as we can be pointed back to that self, um, we will our healing will be limitless, right? And so I always really appreciate any kind of leader, teacher who points you back to the inner wisdom, the inner compassion that is within yourself. So that's what I love about IFS. That's why I love that Dick Schwartz is, in resonance with that, created this book. This sounds true. So yes, I highly recommend it. And if you have it and you have gone through it and you want to share more about it, you're welcome to do that in the comments. Or if you have any questions that you want to know that I didn't answer about the book, feel free to put that in the comments as well. And the next video, I think, will be I will announce the actual book that I will be giving away next month, February 2025. And I'll give you just a sneak peek. It is Dick Schwartz's wife's book, Unburdened Eating. So stay tuned for that next week.